hell are they doing with Hangman?
What's going on? What's going on here?
They're turning him heel. They're turning him heel.
It looks like they're turning him heel based on the
last week's
episode of Dynamite that we
watched last week.
So hopefully this video comes out kind of fresh in that.
And also the episode previous.
That's true.
With the match with Swerve.
Match with Hangman. It's Hangman versus Hangman.
The match between Hangman and Swerve, where Hangman refused the 5 more minutes and sort of maniacally laughed and was like, "You didn't beat me. You don't get to go to the Revolution."
Yeah, no, so he had a pretty good match with Swerve, actually. And, you know, the bell rings and they have like a tie. And then it's normally the face that goes 5 more minutes. And it's the heel that normally goes, "No, fuck you," and kind of slinks away. So this happens. Swerve picks up the microphone and goes, 5 more minutes. I'm like, okay, he's meant to be the heel. People keep cheering him, which is its own kind of thing within itself, which we'll get into. Anyway, he picks up the microphone and goes, 5 more minutes. And then Hangman gets the microphone. He's like, "No, you lost. You were meant to beat me." And he goes away. And then Tony Schiavone goes, "Hang on, guys. I got a call from my best bud, Mr. Khan." And he goes, "It's actually going to be a 3-way at the Revolution." And then Hangman goes, he goes, "No, you lost."
He goes, "I have to face Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland in a spit-swapping makeout match?"
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was very heelish behavior from Hangman. People were kind of booing him all match, but I don't know if it was 50-50.
I would say it was like 60-40 in favor of Swerve. Like 60% of people were cheering for Swerve, 40% of people were cheering for Hangman, and the 60% that were cheering for Swerve were also booing Hangman.
I don't know, Hangman he's had more of an edge to him since he came back with the bigger mustache, which is, it's just good. Keep the mustache, Mr. Man, Mr. Hangman. But he's had a more heelish behavior to him, but it's more of like a Moxley face kind of behavior where he's like,
yeah, it was more like a sick of this shit baby face. Like I'm gonna be a badass baby face. And I was fine with that. But this week, specifically, so last week I feel like you could be like, like it was a little bit heelish, but you know, he's just trying to get back at Swerve. But this week I feel like you can't explain it in a way that keeps Hangman a face. Because he's delusional this week. He came out being like, no, you shouldn't be in this match because you didn't beat me, but I should still be in the match even though I didn't beat you. That's a heel.
Also, the heel thing is like, came out, he was like, people were saying I'm mad. I'm not mad. And you're like,
I don't remember what, that's a reference to something. That is because he's like, when you write your Dynamite recaps, don't say I was mad. Which I mean,
he talking about us? Our Dynamite recaps?
I don't know, man. No. I think that, look, here's the very, very crucial point that I want to make. I am not saying that a heel Hangman will not be entertaining. I am not saying that a heel Hangman is necessarily going to be bad. What I am saying is you need to think about the storytelling consistency of what you're doing. And I hate making a negative video about AEW because I love AEW. It is my favorite wrestling product to watch. But the thing that grinds my gears about this, and it's a problem throughout wrestling, honestly, is there is a certain amount to which this is, I don't want to say disrespectful to the fans, but it sort of shows a lack of consideration for fans who are actually invested in the story. Because it doesn't matter that people are getting behind Swerve. You still need to finish that Hangman versus Swerve story in a way that makes sense and that is
it makes sense and is satisfying.
Yeah, it still needs to have a satisfying conclusion, or at least a satisfying pinpoint for now. Right?
Yeah, because in wrestling, stories never end.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I'm fine with Swerve versus Hangman being a forever feud. It makes sense after like the intensity of their initial 2 matches, as well as Swerve breaking into Hangman's house while his child was in there. It makes sense that would become a forever feud. But that doesn't mean that at any point in time you can just flip the roles, right? Because at the end of the day, it was only a couple of months ago that Hangman's house was broken into.
Yeah.
And so if you turn Hangman heel against the guy that broke into his house, and the guy that broke into his house has shown no remorse and has not changed as a character, why the fuck should I be cheering for Swerve, and why should I be booing Hangman?
Well, you see, because you like the dance. Okay.
So this is my problem with wrestling storytelling a lot of the time. I think that people are very caught up in the fact that for a long time, WWE didn't listen to the fans. And so they go, oh, you should always listen to the fans. I don't think that you should, because If the story that you're telling is that one dude did heinous shit and the other dude needs to get retribution for that heinous shit, then the other dude should get that retribution. Because wrestling isn't realistic, right? Like, I know that a lot of people will be like, well, you don't always get retribution in real life. I don't care about real life. I care about wrestling.
In movies, you get retribution mostly.
I don't know. I also have this problem with movies a little bit where people will be like, oh, they're realistic now. I don't give a fuck if it's realistic.
Well, it depends what movie you're going into, right? So, like, you like to compare wrestling to a lot of anime, right?
Yes, I think wrestling is anime.
Like, what, Shoujin anime or something? I don't know. I'm not an anime guy.
Shonen.
You're shonen, sorry. Well, in those stories, it's super basic, super simple. Like, if you just want to go to the basic core of stories, it's good versus evil. Like, that's kind of how it is. Good overcomes evil. That's kind of how it's always been. You know, Fall from Grace stories are also good. And it's just classic storytelling. Like, yeah, or you can go into like different types of stories and have more modern interpretations. That's fine. But I feel like wrestling as a core always kind of goes around those simple stories, which are kind of timeless in a sense, because they've been told for multiple thousands of years. The funny thing with the fans is they'll cheer Swerve because they think he's cool, but they won't think about the implications of cheering him. Because like you said, like they'll love his heel work, they'll cheer him, and then he'll turn face, and then they'll be like, actually kind of don't like him being a good guy.
He's lost it. He's actually kind of lost it.
It was the same with MJF.
Yeah, it's what happened with MJF. It happened with Seth Rollins over in WWE. People loved the Seth freaking Rollins character when he was a heel and he was wearing the over-the-top outfits and he was delusional, and then he turns face, and because he's a face now, changes are made. Because he's a face. He's a good person now. And so changes are made, and those changes fundamentally change the parts of the character that you liked.
MJF was actually a good face turn. Kept his character consistent. I liked it. I liked MJF being like virtually the face of the company, because it allowed him to do more PR stuff and like kind of put AEW on his back for a little bit and go, I love this company. Let me take a picture with a kid or something, you know? But I feel like that can't be done with everything.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not. But there's also like certain things where it's like MJF was still being a scumbag in the ring, but like outside of the ring, he wasn't doing anything bad. And he was showing remorse for past actions.
And a lot of the AEW locker room still just didn't trust him and didn't like him.
Exactly. And then, so now you have Swerve, and people are starting to cheer Swerve. One of two things is going to happen. Either one, he's going to turn face officially, he's going to change a little bit, and people are going to go, oh, he's lost the it factor. Or two, he won't change at all, and we're just going to have a world where they keep turning people heel against Swerve while Swerve is the one doing the heinous shit.
Which I think that's probably the worst option, because I think everyone will think like they're taking crazy pills.
I mean, I feel like I'm fucking taking crazy pills because I actually give a fuck about the story.
Hey, buddy, they're not going to finish the story.
I want to be very clear. I'm not trying to say that Swerve could never turn face, and I'm not trying to even say necessarily that Hangman has to beat Swerve at any point in time soon. But what I am saying is that the worst outcome of this is a Hangman heel turn.
Which it looks like it's going that way, but we'll see. Anyway, I think we've exhausted all our opinions.
Well, one more opinion.
Let's go.
One more little opinion. The further away from the Texas death match that we get, the more I think Hangman should have won. Because it puts a nice little pin in the story right there. And they can both move on for a little bit, right? Because obviously, after that hellacious of a Texas death match, you can bring them back together at any point and have the feud be a blood feud again, right? But at that point in time, Swerve has a win over Hangman. Hangman has a win over Swerve. It was a very violent match directly after breaking into Hangman's house. At that point, you can have the Swerve face turn happen, and he doesn't even need to directly talk about what he did before, because he got the comeuppance.
He got the the little smack around.
He got the comeuppance for that. It's done. It's over. The storyline is finished. That storyline specifically, not necessarily the Hangman feud, but that specific storyline is done. Hangman lost the match. That storyline isn't over yet. Hangman still needs to avenge that. I know people will try and say. I know that this is what people will try and say. I don't know about in our comments. I don't know, but I know that there are people out there that would try and say, well, actually, Hangman got his pound of flesh in that match. He didn't win, but he put Swerve through hell. I fucking disagree. I don't think that that's enough. I think he needed to win the match. The other thing is for me, right? Like people were like, "Oh, he's so hot, you don't want to break that momentum," which like makes sense if he was going directly into a world title feud. But now that we see that he didn't, and we see that he wasn't the challenger at World's End, he's not going to be the challenger until March. That's so much time to like give him wins on his way to the championship.
Oh, 100%.
He could have taken the loss to Hangman, gone into the Continental Classic, had a really good showing, won matches between it, won matches after it, and he would be in the exact same spot. I know that at the time I may have said, and I think other people were saying like, oh, like, yeah, this does put Swerve over really big. You know what? I actually disagree with that now. I don't think that it did anything for Swerve necessarily.
Eating your own words? Is that what you're doing?
I'm eating my own words. Not in the sense of like, oh, like he was held back by it, but like in the sense of like, I don't think that it specifically made him look any better than he already did. I think people would have stayed behind him if he lost that match. I think that you could have gotten to this exact same point if Hangman won that match. And guess what? I wouldn't have as much of a problem if Hangman had already won that match.
Yeah, no, because yeah, like you said, it puts a little bow in things and allows it to move on essentially.
Exactly. And you can be like, okay, so now Hangman's going too far. Like he wanted his revenge, he got it, now he's going too far. He's trying to get his revenge even further. And then I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. I still wouldn't like Hangman turning heel, but that's because I'm a fan of lifetime babyfaces. I don't think there's enough of them in modern wrestling. I think Hangman, though he has been a heel prior to AEW, he hasn't been a heel in AEW, and I think that he could have been the permanent babyface fixture in AEW if they had just kept him the fuck away from Swerve Strickland for the past couple of months. But this is where we are. And I'm sure that Hangman's going to do a good job as a heel. Again, I want to stress, I'm not saying that a heel Hangman won't be entertaining. I'm not saying that I hate AEW. I'm not saying that I hate what is going on right now or that I'm not enjoying the TV product. I'm just saying I think a little bit too much about things and I am invested in the stories. And I feel like this is kind of a slap in the face to someone who is invested in the story.
So what I'm hearing is you hate AEW, you hate the stories, you actually hate Hangman himself as a person.
That's true. I'm going to break into Hangman's house and talk to his kid.
Okay, that's... Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Okay, well, look, let us know what you thought about that in the comments below. What you think about the current story of Hangman versus Swerve. Where do you think it's going to go? Stuff like that. And be sure to like and subscribe for more AEW wrestling content. And any other topics you want us to cover, please put that in the comments below. Look, we want to branch out. We want weekly news stuff. We can do that as well. But yeah, catch you next time on
This Week in Elite.